Okay, hello humans, hello humans. Part 2. There's a point to this if you'll think about it. A 1 point, ha ha ha. Anyway, so nucleation, the point of nucleation that we observe as humans, pulling design patterns in from universe, in through our senses, and then making formula out of them, and rules and laws and all that kind of stuff, and understanding is that nucleation causes a carry forward effect. It causes a spread out effect, which is carrying forward in time, right? Because time is the essential sequential delimiter in our lives. We extract these design patterns. So for instance, we use nucleation in cloud seeding, where they're using nucleation with chemtrails. That's the point, is to basically create clouds through their particulate nucleation, not energetic nucleation. So they basically come on up and they deposit a particle that's in a chemical state that causes the effect that would otherwise happen with cosmic radiation coming on in. Anyway, so we, long before chemtrails, we do nucleation. We've understood nucleation throughout all history of our species. We've used nucleation. We use nucleation in a sense of finding one point and carrying it into the future with us, and you can even apply these terms to the location of fire and carrying a nucleus, a coal of fire, and being able to carry the fire forward. And then we discover how to create fire in a thing of the moment through various different mechanisms, and it's no longer necessary for us to put our biological energy into carrying forward the heat energy in the form of a coal to initiate another fire, right? But there are many things that we can't easily, or there's reasons why you don't want to easily jump over the process. And so there's times when the carry forward is necessary and is a vital part of it all. So in biology, where we have yeast, we can actually dry the yeast out into little flakes, and so that we preserve them and carry them forward and then reuse them to initiate a bread and so on, right? But you can also do, as we do with sourdough, which is not using a yeast, using a natural yeast, and that is that you carry forward the sourdough culture as opposed to drying it out. You can dry it out, but then you have to recreate the whole sourdough. It's got to go through this long process. It's not instant yeast recreating in your bread. But there are other characteristics other than the leavening that are desirable to carry forward. And so we can nucleate our bread we use this concept of taking a small amount of it and in some way carrying that forward to use in our next bread, carrying forward those characteristics. And so we create bread mothers. This is the bread mother for the bread I've got in the oven at the moment. And it's starting to really grow, and so I've got to get it back in the refrigerator, but because I don't usually let them grow out. I usually put them in here right after the forming of the gluten in the main mixing, because they're going to be in the refrigerator for potentially weeks. This mother is for regular old sandwich bread. So that is a nucleus for the next loaf. Carrying forward, true, some aspects of the leavening, but that's not the point. The point is to carry forward the characteristics of the glutens that are already formed, slight sour tang as well. It's not really sourdough though, and the structure of the material itself, not the leavening, although it will, in the next loaf, provide some additional leavening. But again, that's not the primary point. The point is to carry forward the gluten bonds, to carry forward those bonds that have had time to age and strengthen and so on. It makes the next loaf of bread that much better and more resilient, more robust, and so on, right? And as well as having greater flavor, it brings the flavonoids. Many flavonoids take time to develop and so on. Now, we as a social order, and this is the whole point of these two videos, oddly enough, not only to introduce all this idea of 1 point and all that kind of stuff, especially to the Zoomers, but to introduce the idea of carrying forward bonds, okay, because our social order is constructed on the idea of bonds. And this is where the current power structure is extremely vulnerable. Every single one of our elected officials, our ELs, here, for whatever state agency, for whatever federal agency, all of these guys report back to some agency that is designated in a agency, department, many different kinds. Agency is a particular legal word, but let's just say a subset of the government, right? And so you could have local government, you can have, this would include county as well, and then you have state, and you have federal. Okay, so all of these guys, all of the employees for each and every one of these entities, and including all of the sub-entities of each of these, are required to have a bond. All right, this bond is a carry forward that preserves the structure of our government. And so, but here is the tactical and strategic value of knowing this information. That if you're pissed at any one of the employees, you can attack the employees, you can attack the laws and shit that they're working on, but they control that entire structure. But there's one area of this whole process they don't control, and that is the insurance companies. Because their bonds are held by very few insurance companies. Very, very, very few insurance companies hold all of the bonds for all of the employees, for the local, for the county, for the state, for the federal government. Okay, so these guys hold these bonds, the insurance companies, and so you may have a local county official at a school board. Maybe he's got to have a $20,000 bond. Okay, you know what that bond is for? Or $20,000. That $20,000 bond is held by them. They pay a fee to the government that they work for, it would be the local in this case, pays a fee to the insurance company that those guys will promise to pay $20,000 on behalf of this fucker right here should things go bad in a lawsuit against this fucker here that you've got that you're pissed at, and he's on your school board, right? And so this is school board fucker number one. And so school board fucker number one has got a $20,000 bond, but every single school board person has one of these. Every single county commission, every single fire department guy, any elected official will have one of these surety bonds, one of these certainty bonds. In Washington State, in my state, these bonds are controlled by a revised Code of Washington, 42.08. If you go look it up, that whole section tells you all about these bonds, what they have to have, even how the payment has to go and all of this kind of stuff, right? Also, how to claim against them, how to file a pro se lawsuit in the local jurisdiction against these people right here, not against the individuals as individuals, but as their role as an individual acting in that role, claiming malfeasance, and you claim it against their bond. So you're claiming it against their insurance company. And their insurance company is in a real world of hurt. The practical reality of this is that when public employees are sued, these fuckers right here usually pony up attorney's fees to throw away those suits. Those attorney's fees, they figure, are part and parcel of their relationship with the insurance company. But there's always caps on them because most of the nuisance suits they get rid of, and the insurance companies are not really hassled, or the bonds are not subject to claim at that point. Now, this $20,000 bond is a finite limit. If that $20,000 goes away, they're screwed. That employee cannot work without this bond. If that bond cannot be held valid, then the state law says that that person cannot be an employee of the state. Cannot, will not, shall not. It won't happen. And so they got to just be kicked right out. So the county of the state or whatever. This can be taken all the way up to the governor. They will provide attorneys, the state most frequently will provide attorneys and attorney assistants to everybody down here, but they will only be able to do it on a onesie, twosie basis. They will not be able to cover them in mass. If you have a bunch of people suing all these lower level functionaries for malfeasance, going directly against their bonds, primarily making a claim, a monetary claim against a bond in a court that's appropriate to the jurisdiction, appropriate to the government, so federal government, state, county government, and so on. If you file a pro se attack on their bonds that goes back to the insurance company is going to get really anxious really quick. They're going to just start freaking out, especially if there's a lot of these things going against those bonds. So school board fucker number one might have 5 or 6 parents pissed at him. That would be 5 times attacks against his bond, any one of which can eliminate his bond because you get that $20,000. And here's the kicker there. Say that you sued the fucker for $100,000. Each of those 5 parents, right? Hang on. Each of those 5 parents are suing for $100,000. The horror not for the insurance company is that the insurance company is bound by the language to continue in this relationship as long as there's a legal court case going, even after they have lost this $20,000 bond, told by a court to surrender the $20,000 bond from the insurance company to one of the parents, the first one that got there, right? But that doesn't end it, because they've been sued for $100,000. That means there's $80,000 that school board fucker number one has to compensate directly. So he's not covered anymore. He's got to pony up $80,000 to parent number one. And he's got 4 more other parents that are suing his ass for $100,000 for the same shit he just lost on to parent number one. And the insurance company is in there, the actuaries are just puking their guts out. Oh my God, there's a trend developing here. We're going to be wiped out in 3 months, 2 days, and 29 minutes. The actuaries are like that. So anyway, this is the whole point of this. One point, right? Attack the one point at which they're vulnerable. Use your strategy and your tactics to get them where they live, which is this relationship back here. You can't attack the laws that they can throw up in front of your face because they create that shit. But they don't create this relationship. And there's only very few large insurance companies, and the large insurance companies are super stressed at the moment, super stressed. Accident rates are way up, fatalities are way up, payouts are for 2021 are up outrageously, and the insurance companies are already in a world of hurt. They're not going to want people in my state to be going at these bonds by filing these pro se cases. Also, real quick here, note something. That if you file a pro se case, or you can file with an attorney, if you've got the dollars, go ahead and get an attorney, and I would recommend attorneys start advertising this service. I'll set you up on a suit against these bastards, get you some money at the bonds. But the thing is, a pro se, the court system is designed and required to assist you in curing your case. So if you get it wrong in the beginning, they help you fix it so that you can effectively sue. So if you get your words wrong, don't worry about it. They will admonish you. Some of them might be harsh and fierce because they're really stressed and so on, but nonetheless, they have to help you get the words right for your suit. And unless they tell you you can't, you can repeatedly sue even after you've lost. You can just change the wording and go at it another way. So basically, these guys are fucked. Okay, as long as you get at the bond and attempt to claim money from them, and that's the way you want to get it, your compensation for damage. And you just have to, if you want to sue for $1 million, you've just got to figure a way to substantiate that you've been damaged to $1 million. To that level. And then they would have a shitload of world of hurt on a $20,000 bond and $1 million judgment. And they would be out of business right away. And there would be a vacancy on that whatever seat, right? And so this has been done. It's been tried in the United States. Apparently some parents have had school boards, kiss their feet. As soon as this was brought to their attention, they're just kissing their feet, saying, we'll do anything you want. Anything you want, sir, anything. So, have at it. Try it on the governors that are pissing you off too. They have bigger bonds because they're in a bigger point of the nexus of all of this. But It doesn't mean they're not vulnerable. I've got to get in, take my mother back to the refrigerator, and check on the loaves I've got in there. And so this was the end of part 2, and there is a point to that. Anyway, guys, have fun. Sue the fuck out of them.